Should be good now. What, the exclamation mark thing?
Yeah, and then it all just like flashed.
Yeah, it's just wonky.
All right.
Let me just talk to make sure we get levels and encoder there.
Okay.
All right, yep, we're good.
It was coming through there too, so.
Word. All right, good to start?
Yep.
Okay. So, at the beginning of each new segment, if you don't mind, can you wipe the screen, clear it of all the CGs, and then just do the name generic long again?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And I won't start until you're ready. So I'll pause and stop, and then we can, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like 3 different runs of it, basically.
Yeah. So we're basically just starting back on the top for each section. And
Yep.
then host. I got you.
And we can just delete the CG we just used to clear out the space and make it less hectic for you.
Okay.
All right? All right, let's go in 3, 2. All right, it's here. The game of the year for LSU football. The Tigers on the road against Alabama this Saturday in Tuscaloosa. I think with the season on the line. LSU 6-2, Alabama 7-1. The Tigers with 1 conference loss. Bama undefeated in SEC play. 1 more loss at all. LSU's eliminated from any kind of discussion about the national championship, about the college football playoff. Plus, 1 more loss, they're out of the SEC West race. With a win, LSU is basically in sole possession of first in the SEC West. Ole Miss also has 1 loss. They've got the tiebreaker, but Ole Miss still has to play Georgia, which is probably a loss, right? And with that win, you're in the driver's seat. You're still in the discussion for the national championship. You're probably in the top 10 of the college football playoff rankings next week. So, point is, you got to win this game to keep the season alive if you're LSU. How will they do it? Well, the Tigers and their number 1 scoring offense in the country need to play their A game. And it might be tough because the defense you're facing, Alabama, probably, on paper it is, the best defense you've played all year. The Tide are the number 16 scoring defense in the country. They've held opponents to under 17 points per game. I'll tell you, if you don't score 17 points in this game, you're not winning this game. Now, that's not to say LSU hasn't faced a good defense this year. Florida State's the number 20 scoring defense right now. The Tigers have also played Missouri and Auburn, both who had solid defenses, at least at the time they played them. Now, with the Missouri and Auburn games, after you played the game, well, we found out those defenses weren't that good, and they've since regressed, right? But with Florida State, that's the one defense we have seen contain, really, this LSU offense in that 45-24 loss. They held the Tigers to 460 total yards, which is still really good. But what they did do, Florida State, is bottle up LSU's run game. And that's the one thing that's been key this year for LSU being so explosive, having that balanced offense, being able to run it for 200 yards and pass it for 300. If you can't do that, you can still win. It's just going to be a lot tougher. And that's exactly what this Alabama defense wants to do. They've got a top 30 pass defense, a top 25 rush defense, and that's really how they've beaten opponents this year. Alabama's held opponents to 110 rush yards per game. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, their last game against Tennessee, that Tennessee offense was top 10 in the country in rushing offense, and they got shut down. And that's why Alabama was able to come back in the second half, hold Tennessee to, I think, just 3 points, and end up winning that game by 2 touchdowns. That's exactly what Alabama wants to do to you, LSU, is stop your run game. Missouri, they were a good run defense. Actually, they're still a good one, top 30, but LSU ran all over that unit. They went for about 280 yards on the ground thanks to Jaden Daniels, thanks to Logan Diggs. If you can replicate that against a defense of a similar caliber, you'll win this game. I'm very confident in that. Something else to keep in mind, Alabama gets after the quarterback. Top 10 in the country, number 8 in fact, in sacks per game at 3.5. So it's been a great offensive line. Joe Moore Award contender. It's the award given to the best offensive line in the country. Emory Jones was knocked out of the was it the Army game or the Auburn game? I think it was Auburn game with an ankle injury. Brian Kelly said he's been practicing. He's LSU starting right tackle, by the way, if you don't know. In his place, Lance Hurd, a true freshman, a 5-star true freshman, stepped in and played well. But Jones is back. You want to be at full strength for this game, and you got to give Jaden Daniels time, or at least give him lanes so he can escape the pocket, get 20 yards downfield, something that offenses like to do to LSU's defense. So kind of flip it around on him, right? So again, Alabama wants to shut down your run game. They held Tennessee to 130 yards. Again, that was a top 10 rushing offense. LSU's rushing offense is number 13. So similar in terms of explosiveness, efficiency, and really just effectiveness. Okay? So if they do that to you, you're really in trouble. But something to keep in mind there with Tennessee, they don't have a top 50 passing offense. I don't know what the passing offense is exactly. It's not top 50. LSU is the number 3 passing offense in the country. That's why this offense is so good. They can run it, they can pass it, they do both at an elite level. So if you shut down one, you still got to worry about the other. And that's why I think this is a strength versus a strength game. LSU's offense, Alabama's defense going head-to-head in this one. Think of Texas, the only team this year to beat Alabama. They went to Tuscaloosa to get the job done. They totaled 450 yards, and they didn't run the ball very well. They only ran it for 100 yards, but they passed it for 350. So if Alabama's going to try to force you to be one-faceted in this game, take your run away, take your pass away. You got to be explosive and elite with the other. Couple quick things. In this matchup, the over, for people that don't understand betting, that's kind of the total for the game. So if it's 60, Vegas thinks that it's going to be like a 31-29 game or something like that. The over right now is set at 60.5, and in 3 of the last 4 games, the over has hit in this game, which means that the trend has been high-scoring games. If this is a high-scoring game, you got to side with the team that has the better offense, and the team with the better offense is LSU, as I've been alluding to for the past 5 minutes. So that's something interesting right there. If it's a shootout, take an LSU. LSU will win that style of a game. The keys to this game for LSU's offense, real quick here. Stay out of 3rd and long. Tennessee, again, couldn't pass the ball, couldn't run the ball. They were in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10 all game long. Can't have it in this game. Establish that run game. The way you set up the passing plays, the deep shots that Texas hit on to beat Alabama, the 50, 60-yard deep passes, is by getting that run game going, forcing those safeties to creep up, bringing those linebackers up to the line of scrimmage, and hitting them deep. And then 2 last things, don't settle for field goals. If you get to the red zone, that's got to be a touchdown. We can't be settling for 3. Tennessee was up 17-0 last week or 2 weeks ago on Alabama. And they should have been up by more. And if you're up that many, you got a chance to put the game away early, put it away. So this is going to be a great game. LSU's offense against Alabama's defense, both units very good. Which one will prevail? We'll find out on Saturday, and I cannot wait to see it. Let me know who you think wins this game in the comments section, and be sure to like and subscribe. All right. Yeah. Cool with that? All right. All right, segment 2 is just preview prediction. So you could take that strength one out if you want to. Clear up some space.
I'll just leave it in there, just in case.
Okay.
I have everything set up.
Cool. All right, you good?
Yep, you can start when you're ready.
All right, let's do it. All right, it's time for preview and prediction time. Got to give it to you now. Alabama, LSU, top 15 battle in Tuscaloosa. How do we see this one playing out? Well, if you've been following since the beginning of the season, you kind of already know how I feel on this one. And how I feel is the same way I felt coming into the season. So that should tell you everything that you need to know. But having said that, halfway through the season here, seeing the games play out on both sides, I'm even more confident in what my prediction was coming into the season. So here's what Vegas has right now. They got Alabama favored by 3 points at home. So a close game. That's about as close as you can get, really, aside from going maybe 2.5. It's really kind of a pick'em game. And the only reason Alabama's favored is because they're the home team. Because Vegas gives a couple of points to the home team, like 3 or 4.5, depending on, how good your fan base is, how difficult of environment it is. And not many teams have gone to Tuscaloosa and won football games. I think on a neutral field, LSU might be favored by a point, maybe a 1.5. Still like a pick'em type game, but just throwing that out there. And then the over is set at 60.5. And the over has hit in this game 3 out of the last 4 years. I'd imagine that includes last year when it was 32-31. And if it's an over-type game, if it's a shootout, a lot of points, I'm taking LSU because the Tigers have the #1 scoring offense in the country. So I'm going with the offense that I know can put up points and do so really at will. So a few things on this matchup before I give you the prediction. Alabama hasn't seen an offense like this all year long. They haven't seen a unit that can run it effectively and efficiently and pass it the same way. I guess you could argue that Texas is kind of comparable, but even in that game, they were held to 100 rush yards, and they couldn't get that run game going. It was all about the pass. They passed for 350 en route to a 34-24 win. In every game this year, pretty much, maybe aside from Florida State, LSU's been able to run the football well and pass it well. Now, the defense, that's another story. We're talking about offense right now. So that's the biggest thing. You've got complementary offense with the run and the pass. Both styles of play for LSU rank in the top 15 in college football. So they're both extremely well-versed, well-known, well-talked about. Nothing but good things to say about this offense. And you know what? I'm so confident in this team. I think LSU will run the football well. This team has a great offensive line. 5 guys across that are tough, physical, mean. They play with their emotions on their sleeves, and Logan Diggs is a big dude. He will run you over and then get 15 more yards. Jaden Daniels, he's gone in the blink of an eye. If you give him a lane, he's taking off and going. On design quarterback runs, you can't even touch him. And if you do touch him, he invites that contact. That's the way he plays, and I just love that about this team. So I'm uber confident that this LSU football team will establish that run game against a very solid Alabama run defense. Now, in terms of the passing game, I think LSU will take downfield shots with Malik Neighbors, with Brian Thomas, maybe even Chris Hilton and Kyron Lacey as well. Maybe they'll get involved too. Can't forget about Mason Taylor, the tight end as well. He was a big player in that game last year. That's how Texas beat Alabama. Those deep downfield shots. Think LSU kind of plays with a similar style. You know, they kind of copy the blueprints getting that win there. So, as for defense, Alabama's got a porous offensive line. One of the worst pass-protecting units in the country. 6th to last. 126 out of 132 college football teams in sacks allowed, which means the pass pro's not good. We know the LSU secondary has struggled. What hasn't been really that bad, though, at all is the front. The defensive ends, the defensive line, they get after quarterbacks. Harold Perkins and the linebackers, they've got good speed on blitzes as well. Here's what you need to avoid if you're LSU. You can't get dotted up downfield. Deuce Chestnut, Zy Alexander, Denver Harris, all not playing. The 3 transfers LSU brought in to play corner, unavailable. So you got young guys, inexperienced guys back there. Force Alabama to nickel and dime their way down the field. Do not get beat on a 50, 60-yard deep ball, because that's the only way that Alabama really moves the football aside from the ground and pound run game, okay? If they're able to hit those shots, you're in deep trouble in this game. So keep it all in front. This is the 77th ranked passing defense in the country. They have not shown the ability to go 15, 10 yards methodically down the field without turning it over. Force them to do that, and you'll have success if you're LSU defensively in this game. The run game, it's okay. Alabama always seems to play above its head in these kind of games, especially at home. They've got an extra edge about them. So on the season, the run game hasn't been good. It's in the 70s, but expect them to be able to move the football a little bit on the ground with Jalen Milroe and the kind of cast of characters they got in that running back room. But again, if they're moving methodically, 10, 15 yards, and you bow your neck in the red zone, you'll take that all day. Just don't get beat for that deep touchdown. That's all I'm trying to say. How will Alabama win this game? Mistakes. LSU mistakes and capitalizing off of those. That's how they beat Tennessee. The Vols could not move the football in the second half. They were in 3rd and long all game, and they turned the ball over at inopportune times. They had coverage busts, things like that. That's the only way Alabama beats you, is if you make mistakes, LSU. Do not do that. You win this game. I think you win it easily. Here's my prediction for this one. Again, Alabama favored by 3. LSU on the road. I think LSU wins the game. I've said it since the summer. Top offense in the country. Bama's offense is extremely mediocre. This LSU team does not make mistakes often. Sure, say what you want about the defense. The defense is good for a turnover, for a stop in the red zone, and that might be all you need to win this game, which I think will be a shootout. The over's going to hit, and since LSU's got a better offense, I'm going with LSU to win this game. They're going to run the ball. They're going to pass the ball well. They'll make the big plays on defense. They'll force Alabama to move up and down the field, something they have not done all season. They walk out of Tuscaloosa with a big win, and they are in sole control of the SEC West in a couple weeks when Ole Miss loses to Georgia. And I think LSU goes to the SEC championship game, and all bets are off from there. Now go get it done. All right. All right, finish up with Saints. I'm gassed, man. All right, so Saints football may be back. New Orleans up to 4-4. Got a big win last week against Indianapolis, and you look at the final score, you're like, oh, let's go. The offense finally did something. You know, it's like that GIF or that picture with the guy and the stick. He's like, do something, right? I mean, that's what we were all kind of waiting for as Saints fans and people that cover the team. You know, where's the offense that, you know, was being hyped up all season? Where's the Derek Carr deep shots, the prolific passing game? Where's Alvin Kamara with the nice downfield runs? Where's Chris Olave or Rashid Shaheed with the deep catches? Oh, we finally saw where all that money's going to, and it's not going to a charity anymore. The question is, can we see more of that against the Bears this weekend going forward? Well, I think this offense really hinges on one thing, and we've talked about it a lot, I feel like, all fall. The offensive line. In this game against Indianapolis, the Saints offensive line allowed 1 sack. That's got to be like a season low, because it feels like every game Derek Carr is like he's in the ocean and he's just fighting to keep his head above water, right? Like he's trying to stay alive in the pocket so he can let his receivers get open, let the plays develop, and actually move the football. I mean, to give you an example of how dire it is, I think against Houston a few weeks ago, we passed the ball 51 times. 51 passes. That's unheard of in an NFL game because the Saints have had to change the way they play offense. They've got to snap, boom, snap, but like get it out of his hands within 3 seconds. He doesn't have the time to sit in the pocket, let that deep post route come open, or let Michael Thomas get open on a comeback route, you know? But in this game, they did. Rashid Shaheed had a bunch of deep catches. Carr, again, only sacked once. A few other times, he kind of had to pull some magic out and make a throw with a guy in his face or someone even wrapped around him about to sack him. But it was better. And if that's what you can consistently get from your offensive line, just a little bit more time, I think this offense could produce like this every week against, you know, defenses that aren't elite, but like average, maybe slightly above average, that don't have great, you know, pass rush units and are susceptible in some areas. So that's all you need, really. If you can have the upper hand in half of the games you have left this season, that's good because right now you're 4-4. I think what you need to get to, the magic number might be 10-7 to make the playoffs. Probably win the NFC South because it's not looking too good. Like, you haven't played great football here in the first 8 games, and even still, you're tied basically for the division lead with Atlanta at 4-4, and Tampa Bay's 3-4. So, to that point, this is the time right now that you got to turn it up. You got a chance here in these next 4 weeks, 3 games in 4 weeks with a bye week, to kind of take control of this division and pull away from the pack. As I said, you got the same record with Atlanta, and you'll play them soon. Here's what you got this upcoming stretch. Bears this weekend. The Bears are terrible. I'll give you my prediction in a few seconds here. They're not good at all. Backup quarterback Justin Fields is out. They lost to the Chargers last week by 17. So it's not looking good. You're favored by 7.5. You should win this game, right? Then you got the Vikings on the road. Yep, on the road, but the Saints have played well on the road this year. And Minnesota, Kirk Cousins went down with the Achilles. He's out. They just signed Josh Dobbs, who's played okay at Arizona, but, you know, adjusting to a new team. It's what? He's going to get the game this week, and then if he plays, and then you're playing the Saints in 2 weeks, I think that you'd be favored in that one. Then you got your bye. Then you play Atlanta, a team that, you know, they've been all right, but they're not world beaters by any means, and it's a home game. So you've got a chance here with 3 winnable games to go from 4-4 to 7-4 and maybe get a game or 2 lead on the rest of the division heading into the second half of the season. So now's the time to turn it up and get going. One last thing on Derek Carr. I mentioned he threw it like 51 times against the Texans. He threw it half as many times, basically, against the Colts, 27. That's how many times he should be throwing the ball. What that means is that the big downfield plays, they're hitting. Rashid Shaheed, he's connecting with him. Chris Olave, the same thing. Even Michael Thomas. It also means the run game's working because you're not having to, pass it 70% of the time, run it 30%. So Alvin Kamara was efficient in this game. Taysom Hill had some big runs. Like, that guy's just a football weapon. So getting him more involved has worked out really well too. So as for my prediction for this weekend's game, the Bears are 2-6. As I said, they got a backup quarterback in Tyson Bagent or whatever. He's ruined DJ Moore's fantasy breakout year, which I'm not too happy about. They struggle to score points. And if the offense plays as well as they did last week in this game, they'll be all right. I think they will. Give you a number and a stat here that's, I think, very important. The Bears are the worst pass rushing team in the NFL. They average 1 sack a game. So with an offensive line that hasn't been good, and last week showed that against a weaker defensive line, they can get protection. Well, we saw what happened. New Orleans put up 38 points. They moved the ball all afternoon. I think they do the same thing against the Bears. Carr's going to have time. He'll hit Shaheed, Olave, Thomas, whoever. Taysom Hill will have some big plays too. I think this offense is going to go off against the Bears. You get to 5-4, and you got to turn it up at the Vikings. Bye against the Falcons. 4 weeks from now, I hope we're talking about a 7-4 Saints team. You let me know what your prediction is. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let's see what happens. See if this offense rolls. Hope that gave you confidence as a Saints fan.
Yeah. It definitely
They should.
They better, dude.
Yeah. If they're not getting pressure, man, Carr is surgical. But the problem this year has been he hasn't had time. So
Yeah.
pretty simple. All right, thank you.
Yep, for sure. It's gonna be